Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So in this video, this will be the part 6 or start of the week 6 of this road to 200k challenge. Today is a little bit earlier than usual, but I already input the trades I needed for the week. This was on one hand quite an easy set of decisions to make. Because the way the market is going, the S&P and the Nasdaq are going down again by quite a lot, and so because of that, I saw that many of the holdings that I have, I could not I could not sell any calls on them without having the risk of incurring in a capital loss. And so for me, the biggest decision was which puts I would be able to sold based on the buying power that I had at the time before starting to input the trades. But given the current situation in which we have to consider, all right, we are trying to sell most of our stocks and, without realizing a capital loss, and also we have to consider the profitability associated with each of those trades. For me, it was a quite simple decision that in terms of selling American Airlines puts, it was not feasible because there were almost no puts available that would be worth it to trade at this point. As you can see right here, and now the stock has recovered a little bit, but before it was very close to 1050, and so it was so close that it would not be worthwhile in terms of the probability of expiring worthless, and also the profitability was not that significant. So I decided not to sell any puts on American Airlines, and also I would need to sell calls with a strike price of 14. And so because of that, I would needed to sell calls with a very long maturity, so I decided against it and decided to wait for a better opportunity. In terms of SLOD, I could not find weekly calls that would be worthwhile, so I had to resort to 2-week options and with a 98 strike, because the 98 price is the average price at which I bought the shares, and so this would allow me to break even in terms of capital, but of course with a profit on the premiums. With 4, it was the same situation, no calls to be sold at this time, with a strike price of 13, which was the price at which I bought the shares. For that, I would have to go much further apart, much further in terms of maturity, but I would have to only settle for €1 each for each call, and so it was really not worthwhile at all. So I decided against it, and let's see if the price recovers, or if in the meantime I'll be able to sell some puts to buy some stocks, and in the meantime lower the average cost of those. And so the big focus here will be on HIMS, because I managed to get the opportunity to sell on a 2-week call, sell 2-week calls with a strike price of 17.5. This is a little bit below my acquisition price of 17.71 average price, but because I already received so many premiums on the calls that I sold on this stock, I would still be profiting, and so for me the most important thing is to get rid of all these stocks, get my buying power back, and still be able not to realize a loss, or at least a significant one. But that's why I decided to go for the 2-week call. And so on the same page, I decided to sell additional puts with the purpose of selling even further below, lowering even further below the average cost, and so that's why I decided to sell 8 puts with a strike of 14 with the maturity of this week, and also for maturity of this week selling some puts with a strike of 13.5. I decided to use sort of a laddered approach on the strike prices because you don't want to basically consume all your buying power on a given put, because the price may go further and further below and you run out of buying power to acquire additional shares. And so this is something of let's just say a more conservative strategy on my part to make sure I continue to have buying power to go further below in terms of the average price, so that then I can more easily sell the shares that I have. And so one additional detail is that these 2-week calls, even though the strike price is close but still a bit below the average cost of the shares, when I sold these calls, the probability of profit was 95%. So out of 20 times, 19 will be in about 20 times in 19 will the calls will expire worthless and I will still get to keep the shares. So for me, yeah, I'm comfortable either way, because the time for me to sell all the shares will come eventually and I will not be in a loss when that time comes. So for me, it's okay to do that. When it comes to Lyft, it's a similar problem than the other ones. The current cost of acquisition is 14.5 and there are no puts available, no calls available, but in order to do that I would have to go much further away, like for example 1 month away, in order to have any resemblance of a premium. And so because of that I decided against selling these calls, and so for the time being I also didn't sell any puts. So this is something to be addressed a little bit later down the road when I get some buying power back, so that I can then start selling some puts on Lyft to lower the acquisition price and then try to get rid of all the shares at once. For Pfizer, in this case, because even though the stock finished the last week at around 29, and so in that case would make sense for me to try to sell a call with a strike price of 29.5. The situation is that the markets opened on a quite negative note for Pfizer, and so because of that the premium for the 29.5 call was very low, and the only one worthwhile was for the 29 call, which is the cost of acquisition of those shares. And so I decided, all right, if I sell these shares I would be breaking even on capital, but I still would keep the premiums for myself. So that's why I decided to sell some calls. It's a good quality stock, so it was not my intention at all to sell more puts on it to try to buy more shares. This is something that would come under my consideration after I get rid of all the other shares that I want to get rid of. And to remind you of that, it will be American Airlines, Ford Motor Company, HIMS, and Lyft. And so this is it in terms of the rationale for all the trades. And so now let's input them in our scoreboard. Let's just start all right for the beginning. And so, which is right here. For the folks who don't know, these are simply currency exchanges which are done automatically by the broker, and so you don't need to worry about this because they don't have any commissions. These are simple exchanges, and so there is nothing to worry about. All right, and so let's just start inputting our trades. And so as you can see, let's just start here, for example, with Isolode. I sold the 6 calls for the strike price of 98. So let's do just that. Let's just copy here. So today is the 3rd of September. Keep in mind that yesterday the markets in the United States were closed for the reason of the Labor Day. For the folks who are living in Europe, as myself, The Labor Day in America, in the United States, is the first Monday of September, and so that is why the markets were closed yesterday. And so I sold here 6 calls. I believe the premium I got was 45 cents in this case. Yeah, it was 45 cents, and I still got a credit of 59 cents in premium, in fees and commissions. So this must go into the negatives. All right, yeah, that's it. And now another another call that I sold, but in this case was the calls on HIMS, which are 2 weeks. And so this was HIMS. This was a covered call as well. So the strike price is 17.5, and these were 14 calls. All right. I will change this this formula later, because this is not the collateral. All right, this is much higher, because the collateral actually is the overall price of the shares, but I will adjust this a little bit later on, because this is not relevant at this point. And so I believe I sold these calls at let's just see, I think it was 5 cents if I'm not mistaken. Let's see, yes, so it was 5 cents, and I had to pay a commission of 7.72. So these were 5 cents, and the commission was 7.2. All right. And now for Pfizer, same thing, even though in here was just weekly calls, right? This was also a covered call. The strike price was 29. These were just 2, and here it was, let's see, for Pfizer, this was actually the easiest trade I had to consider. So for 11 cents, and I paid 2.2 in commissions, so this is 2.2, and this was 11 cents. All right, so now let's go to our puts. All right, which were basically the only ones were on HIMS. All right, so this will be a quite easy one to do. All right, so let's just do like this, because these are actually 2 different puts. Just put here HIMS. These are cash covered puts. This is 13.5, and these are 14. The strike price, right? So these are 323. So these are 8, and these are also 8. So 8 of each, and the premiums were 17 cents here, and the commission was 281. This gives a grand total of 562. So this was 17 cents, and the commission 562. And finally here 8 with a price, with a premium of 7 cents. All right, and the commissions were 165, so 275, actually 165 is 330, and so 330, 440. All right, so 440 and 7 cents. All right, and so these are the trades for today, or rather this week. And yeah, basically let's see what is going to happen. On one hand, I'm really hopeful that yeah, probably the HIMS price will rise to the strike of 17.5, and I will be able to sell the entire lot of shares, which would be very nice. But yeah, let's see what happens. That is it for now. In the meantime, feel free to leave your comments below, Any questions you may have, feel free to reach out through the comment section or on LinkedIn. Also feel free to like the video and subscribe. And we will reconvene at the end of the week to see how the trades went. And so, yeah, I'll see you then.